Do twin flames exist? I do believe they exist. They're still, unfortunately, relatively rare here on Earth. I don't like the term twin flame, but in my opinion, this is what a relationship should be, right? It's almost a no-brainer. You should have a connection at the physical, emotional, and spiritual level. Both people should be of the highest ethical integrity. Both people should be open and vulnerable and in love, and they should be honest with each other. Like, it's just not that hard. There's a lot of interference here on Earth, and that's one thing I learned going through this. I mean, this is really probably pretty basic in other places, but it's not basic here. And that's why there's such a longing, because I think that there's part of us that knows that something has been taken from us. There really is, unfortunately, a lot of interference in our relationships. And I don't want to sound conspiratorial, but once I did research on it and once I saw it firsthand for myself, not only in my experience, but in the multiple experiences of other people, I really came to understand ideally how it should be here versus the reality. And so sadly, a lot of people will get caught up in this twin flame experience. Let's ask the question, do twin flames exist? Because I've actually thought a lot about this. Okay, first of all, I want to say, before I answer this question, I do not like the word twin flame. I think it promotes an ideology which is generally false. People have asked me in my comments, do I know what an alien love bite is? Have I heard of Eve Lorgen? And the answer is absolutely yes to both. Once again, if I say the term alien love bite and nobody knows what that is, what happens? Well, people shut off because it sounds so bizarre. And so I tend not to use this terminology, so I want to put that disclaimer out there before I answer this question. Do twin flames exist? Yes, they exist, but not in the way that social media portrays them. And I have met a handful of couples that I do believe are twin flames. I actually wrote about one on Instagram Threads, so I'll link that post below so that you can see how real twin flames interact with each other, because it's not what's portrayed on social media. So all a twin flame is, it's a couple. Two people, could be, and this could include gay, trans. I don't think it necessarily has to be a male and a man and a woman, but I do think there's a bit of an emphasis on that because of the coming together, the way they come together sexually. And I won't get too into that on YouTube, but all it really is two people who are open to each other and are connecting on a physical, emotional, and spiritual level. The metaphysical is really important. They both have really pure hearts. They're both highly ethical, and they want the best for each other. So these two people have a connection. It's pretty intense, but both of them can handle it because they're ready for it. And that's another thing that I want to mention. I haven't seen, most of the twin flame connections I've seen have been on the ages 35 and under. And there's reasons for that, because I think what happens with older, and by the way, I'm not saying it's exclusive. Like there's always exceptions to the rule, right? So, but I'm just saying from what I've seen, what's happening is Gen Alpha and Gen Z, older Gen Alpha, because still there's some very young people that are Gen Alpha, right? So I don't know, let's say 17 and 18 on up to the age of 35. These people are coming in already spiritually equipped for these types of relationships. And dare I say, like, every relationship should be like this, right? I mean, we should all have a spiritual connection. There should be telepathy. These are basic things that we have been robbed of here on Earth. These twins, they don't have to talk very much. They get it. They read each other's energy. It's not necessarily a particularly easy relationship, but both of them are really devoted to each other. But not only are they devoted to each other, they really are devoted to like a higher level mission, which is pretty cool. But both of them retain their connection to the divine, whatever the divine is for them. And you know what? Here's another channel that I'm going to link. There's this guy in Japan, Takashii. He is really good. And the people that he interviews are the most phenomenal people that I've ever seen. And I'll just link his channel and you can go watch it. And these are the type of the people I'm talking about. They're just walking around. And the thing is, so the other thing is too, people that are actually twins are not like running around saying they're twins, right? It probably wouldn't even occur to them. They're just living their lives. You know, they wind up meeting someone they have a connection with and it clicks for them. And they're willing to work out the difficulties that come up because they're meant to be together. That's all it is. Now, I know that people go running around looking for their twin. In my opinion, these connections are spiritual contracts. A spiritual contract is going to enter your life no matter what. You don't have to go looking for it, all right? The thing is, it doesn't come along every day in the week. Some people say to themselves, like, I'd really rather not have a relationship unless it's a true connection on all levels. And I completely understand and agree with that for a certain percentage of people. Other people will say, listen, I really don't want to be alone. So, you know, this person, you know, I may not have a connection on all levels with them, but they're a good person. And, you know, I'm going to choose to be in a relationship with them. And to be honest, I think that's a decent percentage of people, right? Where they're with people because, honestly, they're a little afraid to be alone. So, yes, twin flames exist. I still don't think it's all that usual. I would say in the past 5 years, I've met maybe 5 couples that I've felt fit that definition. Now, once again, you know, I'm not an all-inclusive person. Globally, I do think, you know, when I look at the people ages 15 to 35, I do see a different type of relationship within those people in a good way. Like the man and the woman are just connecting, and that's regardless if they're twin flames or not, right? I really have seen a shift in the younger generations in a good way. Now listen, that doesn't mean that everybody's all angelic walking around. Like, yeah, we have our dark people in that age cohort as well, okay? But I really am seeing people get together in these relationships / involvements, and it's a really beautiful thing to see when it happens. Now, can that happen for an older person, we'll say over the age of 40? Well, of course, but both people, what happens when you get a little bit older is people tend to close off their heart because they've been through a lot. And so love is the most vulnerable thing that you'll ever do. You need to be open on all levels. And what happens is, as people get older, my experience has been, it's almost like going through a war, and they don't want to go through a war again if it hasn't worked out for them. And then the people where it has worked out for, they tend to stay in the relationship. Can it happen as you get older? Yes, but once again, these relationships are not that common within the younger cohort as of yet, although I think they're growing more and more if you look at it globally. But in the older cohort, there's a lot of factors at play. Most people are already established in their lives, and they don't necessarily have the openness or vulnerability necessary to make that connection. Not to say that it couldn't happen, right? So I'm not an absolutist by any means, and that's why I'm asking for your input in the comments should you so choose. I know this is kind of a loaded topic. The other thing I forgot to mention too is sometimes in the twin flame ideology, It won't work out with the person that ran away, right? And that either never came back or it was an abusive relationship, whatever that is. But then they actually meet someone who is compatible with them, and that person, then they realize that person is their twin flame and the other person was their false twin flame. I mean, you kind of can't make this up. What I think happens in that situation, and I'm gonna say this here, is that a certain percentage of these involvements are actually spiritual attacks, okay? So if you go through a spiritual attack and you actually get to the other side and you're able to neutralize that dark polarity, then the positive polarity will come in. Now, here's the thing. I feel like in the twin flame ideology, it's almost like if you do this, then there's this guarantee. And I don't want to make this seem like a guarantee. I just want to introduce this concept here that yes, indeed, you can neutralize these spiritual attacks. You can neutralize the dark energy, and the possibility, let's put it that way, the possibility of a positive polarity coming into your life, it can happen. But I also think to rely on it is not a good idea. So in my next video, what I'm going to cover is who falls under the twin flame umbrella, okay? Who gets caught up in this ideology, because it tends to be multiple different types of people. And I think when you go through this, you have to be honest about what type of person you are and how you got caught up in it.